Duel Corp just launched onto Steam into early access for $20. This is a Souls-like indie MMO in development. Looked pretty interesting, so we put in 10 hours and we learned all that we could. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Thank you to everybody who hung out with us while we streamed this, and subscribe for indie MMORPG content. Starting off, you're going to want to make a character. There aren't a ton of options. You pretty much just have hair and skin color. The important stuff is right here, the classes. You have your knight, your priest, assassin, archer, mage, paladin. We played 10 hours as a knight. I'm going to share all that we learned and go over how the game works. Looks like classes just start you off with different stats. You don't actually start off with any other weapons. The footage right here is from day 1 of the early access. Everybody starts off with just a sword. The gameplay is Souls-like, so I recommend you use a controller. That's what I did. The combat is directional. Left attack, it's different angles, so swing from the left overhead and right swing. So we're using an Xbox controller, so X is for left swing, Y is for overhead, and B is for the right direction, and you have A for dodge roll. You are invincible for a second, so it is used for dodging. You're dropped right into the world. Doesn't teach you a whole lot, just those basic movements. You can block in those directions, and if you time them properly, you can parry and do a counterattack. Right trigger, how does this work? Oh, you have to parry the direction. You'll see right here, the other players, they cannot attack the mobs you're fighting unless they're in your party. So this reminds me of Etterspire, where everyone has their own mobs. You don't have to worry about getting KS'd. But it also kind of takes the fun out of people helping you out when you need help. Your progression at the start is simple. You fight just the basic mobs out there. You can find loot from them. You can find your first two-handed weapon there as well. Some other weapon types include daggers, swords, axes, great swords, and great axes, as well as bows. And you can also dual wield. You can build into dual wielding if you want. You can have 2 weapons on you at a time, so later on I roll with a 2-handed weapon and a bow. The game's not too tough if you have the gear and you're matching level with the mobs, so you can handle yourself with a bit of practice. The currency on the bottom right is what you use to trade for items, and it's also your experience, and you need a certain amount to progress and level up. Progressively, it gets higher and higher as you level. When you do level, you can put 1 stat point in, and you can choose from a variety of different skills. The way I like to play these games, I like to just go into passives, so I was putting points into getting more strength and to give myself a 2-handed weapon attack boost. After you fight for a while in that tutorial area and you get your bearings, you will run across the first boss. He'll beat you up pretty good most likely, so you'll need to come back to him later. Back up, Jack. We're so screwed. No, overhead! I'm not used to overhead yet. Okay, can't beat him just yet. That sucks. This game has a main quest storyline, but doesn't seem to really have much effect just yet, from what I can tell. Also, I don't think the quest line is super long in early access. I think it's like 10 hours. I'm pretty much at the end of it. So you can't beat that first boss, so you exit your map. I don't know how Dark Souls and Elden Ring work, but after you get out of that tutorial area, you get to the Overworld. And this Overworld system reminds me of Mountain Blade, where time stands still if you're not moving. And when you move, you could see all the different NPCs running around. The map is split up into factions. You can do quests in the various towns. Looks like there are 50 locations in the world, and they're all set up in sections. So I worked in this forest area for my whole playthrough, but there's desert and there are other different sections of the map with different factions you can work towards, and eventually you can buy faction armor, and I'm not sure what else it has to offer just yet. So you'll see in the overworld there are camps, and there are just mobs walking around, but the mobs in the camps in the open world you can just walk to and press A, and you can interact and fight them. If you walk into towns, you can find yourself some quests. They seem to be almost RNG. I'm not sure how it works, but I've done several of the same style of quests from various different NPCs. All the towns have slight variation, but they all seem to have this one NPC you can walk to, and you can queue up for dungeons, and it drops you in with 3 other people, and you could just fight your way through there, and you get a chest at the end. These are good for experience and for loot, and you can also queue up for some PvP. I hated the PvP. It doesn't really make sense to me. I did a couple of fights and I got absolutely wrecked. The majority of my time I spent going about and doing quests. I picked up quests to fight in camps, and these camps reset whenever you get knocked out. You also drop your currency whenever you're knocked out, so you need to make sure to pick it back up. If you get knocked out twice in a row and you don't pick up your experience, it does seem to go away. You can party up with your friends and go out in the overworld as well. I played this entirely solo, and it seemed to be manageable by myself. I believe you can also straight up toggle off the multiplayer. You can play the single player if you really want to, but I did a lot of just random queued up dungeons. Even though we have 1,300 people in our Discord server, no one wanted to join me, so I went and picked up a companion. Wait, offer to join. What is this? I'll meet you outside. It's a pretty cool system. Even though they get knocked out, they don't go away. I thought it was going to be hardcore, but you basically can never lose your companion. They revive after a mission, or you can revive them during a mission if you're in a safe spot. You can take your companion into the overworld missions, but not into the dungeons with other people. You can spend your currency to level them up, and you also can gear them up. You put their stat points in, you put their skill points in as well. So you can build them however you want. Dude, you can give a skill tree to your companions. Holy cow, I don't want to deal with this. Oh my gosh, I can equip her with stuff. What the heck? Use that axe if you want. You could have that. They're really useful to have. I highly recommend you pick one up as soon as you can in game, because they take damage and they also help you out big time. They're not just trash companions, they're just as good as you almost. There's also a friendship system with your companion and with various NPCs around the towns. You can give them gifts and you could also just compliment them. Gearing yourself up is pretty straightforward. The best drops come from elites and hard little mini bosses. You find them mostly in camps, but you can also do quests to get gear as well. Gearing up didn't seem to be a real issue, and there were also some pretty cool unique finds. Sometimes when you get a new piece of loot, there'll be question marks underneath the stats, and these are unlocked by doing little mini quests. So sometimes it'll say to fight certain mobs, sometimes it'll say to loot a certain amount of items, and then you get a little stat boost. Outside of combat, there is a little bit of crafting and gathering. Again, it reminds me of Phantasy Star Online, where if you go and do a mission, you'll find a few little nodes here and there. You can gather for crafting food, which gives you stat bonuses for that life, and mining nodes are used for upgrading your favorite weapons damage, basically. There's no real weapon or armor crafting, it's all looting. Some random little side notes. There's no in-game chat. I don't think Dark Souls games have those, but if you're coming in trying to play this like an MMO, there is no chat. You could just use emotes. I'm at the point now where I'm just grinding. I want to level up so I can use some higher level faction gear. The gear in the game does change how you look, which is really nice. There's a lot of replayability as well with all the different classes. I think I'll probably reroll a couple of times to try out different skills and different weapons. But overall, it's an interesting concept, especially for just a couple of developers to work on. Can't really compare this to any other indie MMO we've covered. I think for 20 bucks, it's a decent little fun game you could play for a week or two. And the developer is putting out updates. They've made a point that looks like they're going to focus on gameplay variety, because it does get repetitive, kind of out of ideas. I'm just going to go and explore the map and fight in different biomes and try some new classes pretty much. I think I've done everything at this point at about 10 hours in, but I think you could get some more hours in by trying out some other classes. I think it would be cool if there was some open world kind of danger with PvP. Not sure how they'd be able to implement that. Overall, I had a lot of fun, and I'm gonna do some update videos on this in the upcoming months. I'm gonna try to keep this nice and short. I'm pretty sure I covered just about everything. I know I go fast, but you're mainly going to be walking into camps and doing quests, or you can just queue up for dungeons. The fun is kind of finding gear and trying out different skills and getting better at the combat. I'm getting pretty decent at it. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. Leave me a like if you can. Subscribe for indie MMORPGs if that's what you like. It's all we cover on this channel. We also stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday on Twitch and YouTube. Thanks so much for stopping by and hanging out, and until next time, I will see you in game.